Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. Now, today I want to talk to you about the importance of the concept of right plant, right place. Now, I know I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but I thought this was quite an interesting topic based on something that I've kind of dawned on. Well, it's not really dawned on me. It's something that I've known for quite a while, but I've not really pointed it out to people on my YouTube channel, and that is something in the garden, which I'm going to show you in a little while. A really stark example of a plant that's one of them is in the right place and one of them isn't, and I'll explain it as I progress with the video and show you exactly what I mean. So the whole thing is based on something I believe that Beth Chatto, the famous garden writer and gardener, came up with in her own garden, where she created all these different habitats and then procured, I guess is the word, the plants that went in those particular spots. So if she had a very dry sunny spot, then she specifically looked for and planted plants that liked a dry sunny spot. Now this is obvious to a lot of people, but maybe not so obvious to others, and it's something that even gardeners who've been doing it a long time, I think, would do well to be reminded of, and I include myself in that, because I'm very often guilty of seeing a plant and really wanting that plant, and only later on thinking, right, now where am I going to put it, how am I going to provide the conditions that it needs. That's something that I think perhaps a lot of gardeners will relate to. We love plants, and we want whatever plant we see that grabs our attention, and then we get it back and we think, right, what am I going to do with this? Can I provide the conditions that it needs? And it's not always easy. So I'll just start off by talking about my own greenhouse and the various conditions that I've got in this one little space. So, I mean, I forget, it's over a year now since I got this greenhouse. It's probably about 16 months since I bought it. And as many of you know, it's now divided up into two sections. So we've got my warmer section and my cooler section. Although at the moment, this time of year, they're pretty similar, depending on the time of the day. And at various times of the day, the cooler side actually ends up warmer than the warmer side, bizarrely, but I can't do anything about that without buying an air conditioning unit. You don't see many air conditioning units in the UK for the obvious reason that it's usually cold enough anyway. So just in this so-called cooler side of the greenhouse, when the sun comes round, that can really change the various aspects. And you look round at these plants, and I think to myself, right, well, I've got so many habitats here and so many local conditions that change. Like, for example, just looking at that one shelf, well, first off, a plant's got to be small enough to fit on that shelf, but then at various times that shelf will get blasted by sunlight, whereas over on this side, again, things on the top shelf have got to be small. I've got the shading on there, which really makes it, if the sun isn't out, it really makes it very dark. Yet when the sun comes round to that side of the greenhouse, it's like facing the sun, which means that it gets blasted by heat and sun, and then that shading is really necessary, otherwise it burns all the plants. So you've got like a habitat there that could be shady depending on the weather forecast for that day, but yet when the sun comes out, it gets very hot. Contrast that with over here, whereas it's quite light and bright. I mean, really, that shelf over there, I wish the whole greenhouse got the conditions that does. Obviously, you've got a lot of shade under the benches, and it can also be quite cool under there as well. So just in this one greenhouse, you've many different types of conditions. We've got the fan down there. It's a powerful fan, and it does tend to impact on this particular fern, and you can see the damage on the fern. I'm pretty sure that is from the fan, because nowhere else on the plant, especially over on that side of the plant, isn't really getting hit by the fan, and it isn't then getting that wind damage. So and of course I need the fan in order to provide that air movement and ventilation. We've got Coelogenes speciosa up there. I have to keep moving that if the sun comes out, because it can get burnt by the sun. So these are things that are, if you're a gardener and you are or a greenhouse grower, I think these are things that you are well aware of. If you've got a grow room, then if it's a conservatory, you may be aware of it, but I think a conservatory is sheltered to some degree. It's certainly a lot more than a greenhouse. Yes, you will get your temperature fluctuations, but it's more insulated. It may be double glazed. It may be that you've got polycarbonate, and these things allow or don't allow as much of a difference as a greenhouse does. A greenhouse will really react and respond to the external conditions very, very quickly. The sun can come out and it can go up 20 degrees Celsius in here within a minute quite easily, and the same thing happens when you get the frost. It can really make a difference to these plants, and I've got to try and find a way to mitigate those fluctuations in the conditions, whether it be humidity or the temperature. Obviously they're the main ones. The scorching from the sun, even the wind plays havoc with my blinds up on the side of the roof that faces the sunshine. So yeah, it's an obvious thing to us gardeners, but I wanted to show you a couple of really good examples of right plant, right place, not just in the greenhouse as well. We know we've already talked about various wandering Jews that I've had to bring over in this side because they're not keen on that humidity. And a good example is this tricolor minima here that keeps getting these brown leaves on, and it's still getting brown leaves on it. I have to confess, I thought I completely solved it by removing it from the humidity, but it's not as bad, nowhere near as bad over this side. And I found that if I keep pinching off those leaves, it's creating enough new ones for it not to take over the plant. So that's one example. And obviously the fact that all these plants are over here in this cool side will tell you that even though the temperatures are the same, they're not getting that humidity. These don't really want it as much. They like the open, airy, ventilated space. So I'm going to take you outside now, and I'm going to show you a really astounding difference between one plant in one place and one plant in another place. So let's go. So this isn't the astounding example that I was going to show you. I just want to briefly, while I'm passing this on the way, wanted to show you these couple of roses. Now these are fragrant roses, they're both David Austin roses, but the reason I'm showing you these, apart from the fact that they are gorgeous, and I wish you could just go and have a sniff of that. That is lovely, isn't it? It's a lovely rose. Yeah, so just getting sidetracked by the fragrance. So what I wanted to show you these for is that I had these at the front of the house where it was really sheltered, and although they kept out of the wind, they got a lot of sun, and they had the walls at the back, and they absolutely just dried up so quickly that they were kind of blasted by the sun in effect. And what that meant was that the blooms were lasting one day only, just one day, and I was constantly having to water them. However, got them here. Now the problem is they are getting quite a lot of wind here, but it's not enough really to cause too much damage, and they get about half the day in like semi sunshine, and that seems to be doing the trick. So again, right plant, right place, get it in the right spot. Roses out that they're not that happy in pots anyway, to be honest. They do really respond to the weather when they're in a pot, as most plants in pots do. But yeah, I thought you might like to see that as one example. So let's go and head over to what I think is probably my best example of right plant, right place, and it really does prove to you that it makes such a huge difference. So let's head over there now. Okay, so you're looking at the bottom of one of my two Italian cypresses, and I've had these two Italian cypresses for roughly about 12 years, and as I just move the camera up, you can see how big this one is. So we've got the fence to the left there, that's a 2 metre fence. So this one is probably about 7 or 8 feet tall. I can just about reach up to it there and touch the tip. Now this plant was 1 foot high when I bought it, and you don't see, in fact I don't think I've ever seen another Italian cypress in the UK. I saw them a lot when I went to Croatia and obviously Italy, and they do look absolutely fantastic. What's good about them is they're nice tall, very tall and thin, and they're not like other conifers in that they don't go very wide and fat, so they never cause a problem, and they're very easy to remove. So that's one Italian cypress, so just bear that one in mind as we head off over to the other one. Okay, so I'll try and do like a slow reveal here. So you can just see in the distance there the bottom of the other Italian cypress, and what I want to do is, again, you can see how narrow it's certainly no wider than the one you've just seen, but if I just slowly scan upwards, now clearly you can see this one is significantly taller. Now this one I estimate, well I said the other one was about 7 or 8 feet tall, I estimate this one is at least 20 feet tall at the very least. Great thing about Italian cypress is they don't completely block all the light, and they don't get in the way. They just provide that lovely punctuation in the middle of a garden. Great for garden designers. But yeah, look how huge this one is. And well, that's how big I want it to be, but wait till I tell you that they are both the exact same age. Planted the same time, same size on planting, same age. Right plant, right place. I'll leave you with that to ponder. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.